Welcome back to the Act Two podcast, a podcast for the real-life working screenwriter. I'm Tasha Hugh.
And I am Josh Hallman.
And we have a guest, so we're going to skip our beautiful opener to introduce Kevin Shabel.
Hi, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Kevin, how long have we known each other now?
I think 5 years now.
2021.
Yeah, it was June 2021 I started on Tomb Raider. So.
Kevin worked with me on Tomb Raider, and he was so amazing and so brilliant that I brought him over to the Mighty Nine, where he was our writer's assistant for 2 seasons and ended up co-writing an episode by the end of it. And so we're going to talk to Kevin today about like what his journey was, how he became a writer's assistant. That's often such a coveted job, but it's often a really great jumping off point for building a writing career. So just kind of getting into that, what that day-to-day actually looks like. What are the qualifications for a writer's assistant? What can you be expected to do as a writer? And then also like, how can you succeed? Because like the dream is to go on and write an episode, right? And to really start moving in that direction. So we're going to start from the top, which is where we start with all of our guests. Kevin, how did you even get into the film and TV business? Because you're not from Los Angeles.
No, I'm not. I am from St. Louis, Missouri, born and raised. My parents still live in the same house that I was brought home from the hospital in. And I have sort of that typical story of like, it's not Super 8, but my dad bought a VHS camera and to film me falling in love with cars, but I fell in love with the camera instead. And I just would take it and shoot family movies and try and put narrative into it. Then as I grew older in high school, I would shoot movies with my friends. And in high school and college, I figured out I could work the school system to my advantage, where you can make like an independent study. So I made an independent study called movie making and made a movie and somehow got school credit for it, which was cool. Then I moved out to LA right after college and got a job right away at a post house in Santa Monica called Rock, Paper, Scissors, a commercial post house.
Did you get that job before you moved out, or you moved out like, I'm going to find a job when I get there?
Find a job when I got here. It was like, a lot of my graduating class all kind of moved out within 6 months of each other. And we sort of all collectively lived in 2 or 3 apartments. And a friend of mine, Garrett, he got an interview at this place and then got a second interview. And between that first and second interview, he got a different job that he took. But he was gracious enough to go to the second interview and say, I can't take this, but my friend Kevin needs a job. And that's how I got the job. And it was like trial by fire. It was like 90-hour weeks, 6 days a week. Like it was welcome to LA, buddy. But it was great. I learned a lot. I met my best friend worked there. I met him, Patrick.
I'm sorry, Kevin, what were you doing there?
I was just a PA
Oh,
there.
okay.
That was like my very first like PA at this post house, doing runs, grabbing coffee, welcoming clients, parking cars, typical PA stuff.
Sure. Okay.
And his best friend, Patrick, that he mentions, we have also had on the podcast.
This is
Patrick
true.
Tuck,
This is
who
true.
is now an editor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we met as PAs at Rock, Paper, Scissors, and they had like this Airstream trailer in the parking lot, and that was the PA office, and we would just sit out there and, wax poetic about our dreams and bullshit different movie ideas and stuff, so it was a lot of fun. But I like blinked and looked up and like 6 years had passed, and I was still working in like the commercial marketing world, and I like realized that I've been wasting time, and that's not what I moved out here to do. I moved out here to do narrative filmmaking, and so I started telling everybody that would listen, like, hey, I want to be a writer. I want to be a writer. And funny enough, Garrett, who got me that first RPS job, he was Eve Watterson's assistant and put my resume on the pile.
Oh, he did it again.
He did it again.
How I heard of you. Yeah.
Yeah. And my second interview after I started the push for getting into narrative was with Tasha. We hit it off really well, and I got hired on Tomb Raider.
That's a good story.
Yeah, so Tomb Raider season 1, I had a different assistant, Troy Dangerfield. And Troy was someone that I'd worked with. He's a writer's assistant on a previous show that I'd worked on Witcher Blood Origin. And so I knew he was excellent. And I knew he was also himself just like a really good thinker, because in that room, it was really, really open. Like there was no hierarchy. So assistants were welcome to pitch, which is not what you find in every single room. But that was what I was introduced to. And that just made a lot of sense to me, because Troy is very, very, very smart. And so when it was time for me to open my Tomb Raider room, they were like, you don't get any writers. I was like, how about one? They're like, okay, fine. You get one and you get a writer's assistant. And I was like, ha ha ha, joke's on you. I'm going to also hire a writer who's like kind of at that assistant writer, like he's just at that cusp. So he can kind of double as someone in the room. So that's often what can happen too, by the way. If you kind of like show your chops, you can kind of ride that line. And then Troy went on to become a staff writer on The Witcher and moved on. And he has great success that way. But when he left to go do other things, I was like, I need someone who's brilliant. And Eve Watterson, who I worked with, who was on the legendary side, she's like, well, this guy Garrett sent me a
Garrett.
resume of someone that
Shout
he
out
really
Garrett.
likes. And I was like, great. And I feel like I loved you instantly. I feel like we have a very similar, I don't know, like personality vibe
Yeah.
level of energy, I guess.
We had the same water bottle. That's
We
the
had the
first
same
thing I ever
water
said to you
bottle.
was, "Oh, I have that water bottle." Reached to the side and showed it, and then thought, "Wow, I think I just totally screwed this up."
Can I ask you guys real quickly because we've talked about this a million times, like interviewing for a job or like what that process is like, and now we have this unique perspective where I can now ask both of you what your perspective was of meeting each other. So like Kevin, when you went into that, what were your thoughts? Was it just like, I'm going to go in this casually and have a general conversation?
I was in the fortunate position where I had a job at the time and I was making good money. I was a producer at Disney for their like social media marketing stuff and was like totally fine in that job
Mm-hmm.
financially. But I like I said, I wanted to get into narrative. So I was coming from a position of, is this right for me? So I felt emboldened, I suppose, to be like, these are my goals. I want to be a showrunner. I want to write all this stuff. Not knowing Tasha or knowing who she is, but in that conversation, could feel like she cared about that and thought that was cool that that I was saying, at least I was, she'll say her side, but I felt that that was an acceptable answer and also maybe was what helped me get the job, was just like that I had goals and this was not the ends, this was the beginning of a journey.
Interesting. Yeah, that you had that unique confidence to go in where you had something to fall back on if this didn't work out, and you could just say exactly what you wanted.
Yeah, it unlocked confidence somehow.
Yeah.
Tasha, did you feel that?
Yeah, I definitely responded to the honesty of saying this is what I want, because I am very big on helping people move into those positions, and I can 100% empathize with being in a like going in a direction that you don't want to be in, and just feeling stuck and feeling like I want the creative side and I need that jumping off point, and can this be it? And so yeah, like I saw that you didn't want to be in your current job, but that it was comfortable, and that you needed sort of a safe place to land that could help you stretch all those muscles that you've been wanting to stretch. And so what I was hoping for, and we were out of the writer's room at that point, so it was all production stuff. But what I really wanted was someone that I could talk to about like notes and stuff, like someone who you were of course going to do all the administrative stuff. That's like where the help was that I actually needed. But like I loved the fact that I could also talk to you about like, oh my gosh, like what do you think about this note, or what do you think about this solve? Like I just wanted someone to just bounce things off of, because when you get to that point, when the writer's room is gone, it's very lonely, and you don't really have anyone to talk to about like how to do things. So the fact that you had those aspirations and those skills, and you were thinking creatively, was definitely a boon, I guess, for on my side. Well, okay, then moving into when you did become my assistant on Tomb Raider, what did your day consist of? Because again, we were out of the writer's room. So what kind of stuff were you doing every day? And by the way, I probably didn't know like half of it. You did so much.
Yeah, it was a lot of note taking. I was in every single meeting taking notes the whole time. And then at first I had daily meetings with Eve because I was assisting her on the project as well.
Who was like our production executive from the studio side.
So we would have like morning meetings, and I'd be like, here's what was accomplished yesterday, here's where we're at today, and here's what we're hoping to be tomorrow, basically. Was the tenor of those meetings. She was great. Eve was also open to teaching and helping me learn. So I learned a lot from her as well. She loved teaching me inside baseball, as she called it. And then I would have meetings with Tasha on story. It was especially at the beginning. The scripts were written, but the notes were coming back and everything. So we would have discussions about the notes. What do we think of this? What do we think of that? Where can we trim? Trim was a very
That was a
consistent
big
note.
one.
So it was like, how can we be more efficient with these story points and still get the emotion and the character moments in there? We were also like hardcore into auditions. Like literally week one, I showed up and it was like, all right, we're doing auditions, and we needed sides. Again, that confidence of like, oh, I can do this. I was like, oh, I want to write the sides. And Tasha was gracious enough to let me write a side. The first one I ever wrote was for Jonah's girlfriend. I'm blanking on her name right now. But like I spent the whole weekend writing 2 pages and making sure it was like perfect and everything. Turned it in, feel really confident. And Tasha was like, "Great, it was great. You need to make it 1 page." I was like, "I could barely make it 2 pages." But that was a great lesson because of in economy, which then came to pass and be really useful in those in figuring out this full-fledged scripts, because I'm somehow managed to get it down to a page and still have that same emotion in just a couple of lines that encompasses a character. Sides are really like a great exercise for especially a new writer to hone every skill you possibly need, because again, it's the whole encompassing a whole character in 3 or 4 lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was really fun when we moved on to Mighty Nine was we also had you do sides, and we would be like, you can't use any of the dialogue from the
Yeah.
script because we
Or
don't
the
want
names.
or the name because we don't want any spoilers out there. So just like somehow embody this character and make up your own scenario. And that was an exercise too, where I feel like you started a little long and we had to like really trim it back. And but those are really great exercises. You're right.
And were the things that you were doing, was that what you expected to do? Like, or were you learning on the fly, kind of like in it for the first
Uh,
time?
it was a bit of both. Like all the admin stuff, like spreadsheets, everything. Like I knew that. Like in my interview with Tasha, I was like, "Don't worry about that. I haven't been a writer's assistant before, but I've done plenty of spreadsheets. Believe me."
I was like,
Uh,
hired. I don't know how to do anything with spreadsheets.
a lot of it is spreadsheets.
Kevin is very good at spreadsheets, by the way. I was just doing a spreadsheet last night, Kevin, and I thought about you. I was like, Kevin would know exactly what to do here.
Yeah, Em likes to say I'm a freak in the sheets.
Wait, what?
Google Sheets, Google
Spreadsheet.
Sheets.
Oh.
It's a little off color for your morning.
Thought I blacked out. We like took a left turn somewhere along the line. Okay, all right.
Spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Josh, you're blushing.
No way.
We love spreadsheet humor in this household.
And then, were you without a job for a while from Tomb Raider to Mighty Nine?
No, I ended on Tomb Raider on a Friday and started on Mighty Nine on a Monday. Tasha brought me the opportunity and said like, "Hey, here's the situation. I have this new show." I had no idea what Critical Role or Mighty Nine was at the time, and she explained what it was, and I did a little looking into it, and she's like, you can be a writer's assistant on it," and I was like, that sounds awesome. So I did a lot of research and it seemed like it was going to be a good fit. So I had a bittersweet conversation with Eve and put in my 2 weeks, but helped in actually, I think I gave a month. I was like, I wanted to help in the search process for who replaced me on Tomb Raider. Ended up being Autumn Reeves, who's I had met on a different project, and then yeah, moved right into it. Was Friday to Monday. Can't beat that transition time.
Could you speak to the major differences between being a showrunner's assistant and a writer's assistant?
The biggest difference is you have to edit and publicly send out your notes from meetings. It is a lot more.
As a showrunner's assistant.
No, as a writer's assistant, showrunner's assistant, I took meeting notes. Every meeting, I took a ton of notes, but they were just like shorthand for me to write. You know, if someone has a question, I can reference back to my notes, give them the answer. Writer's assistant, you take notes the entire 4 hours you're in the room, whatever it may be, and then you're taking the shorthand version for, but you can't send that out for reference for all the writers to read and remember what they were talking about. So you then spend the second half of your day editing that into a cohesive, readable format, and then send them out. And it's like the sort of shorthand is for every hour of in the room of note taking, it's a half hour of editing is sort of what it shook out to be.
Sometimes you'd look over at Kevin and he'd just be like, I don't understand how to put what you guys just fucked up into this notes document.
Yeah.
Like, it makes absolutely no sense. But he's
We
trying.
managed. Yeah.
Oh man. And then did you miss Kevin, Tasha? Were you like, he's no longer the showrunner assistant? He's not with me
I
anymore.
mean, you develop like a trust and a shorthand, and I always knew Kevin would have the answer because of his exceptional ability with spreadsheets and taking notes. Like I knew if I didn't know something or had forgotten something, whether it was a note or what happened in episode 2 that needs to pay off in episode 8, that I could just say, Kevin, what was that thing again? And like within 5 minutes, Kevin would be like, it's this. And that is, as a showrunner, exceptionally helpful. It really cuts down your time because you're like in the flow, right? You're trying to write, and you're also trying to write like really, really quickly. So to have someone on your team who will allow you to not have to like search through documents and like spend another 20 minutes off of the page to go do that is exceptionally helpful. So yeah, huge asset.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Well, this leads into like what kind of skills are required for like well, let's just start with for a showrunner's assistant.
I mean, showrunner assistant and writer's assistant, I feel it's like same skill set a lot. It's organization first and foremost. Like you got to be very organized. I think an eagerness to learn is really important because when you do come across those things you don't know, like you got to learn them immediately and be doing them at a professional level. Listening skills are super important because you gotta pick up on things that people are forgetting to ask you to do, and you just like context clues like, oh, I should probably cover that. Anticipation, that kind of goes hand in hand with that, is like if you can solve a problem before the showrunner or the writers even think to ask you to solve it, like that's you can see their eyes light up like, oh my god, thank you.
Can you give an example of that? Because you're so right. You were really good at that as well.
An example, oh man, I mean, there's like hundreds from my time, and I can't, of course, think of one put on the spot. But I would just like see. Okay, one would be like this is not like story related or anything, but like I could see people are tired, thing like everything, like it's been a slog day. Like I just do a coffee order. Just let's perk everybody. A coffee is like a lifeline in a writer's room because like and they didn't have to ask, it just like showed up and people were like, oh my god, and like you can feel the vibe in the room switch, and like it helps that that's a very like minor version, but you just always be on the lookout for anything you can do to help.
I bet also like what came to my mind was probably like I can often see us in the room being like pitching around something and be like, we'll figure that thing, like this small piece of it later, like maybe where something takes place. We know we want this story thing to happen, but we have no idea where it's going to happen. And then we just keep talking around it. And then one day, if that's us on a Monday, by Thursday, we're like, fuck, now we need to figure out where this takes place. And if you knew that we were struggling with where to put it because we just didn't know what options there were, I can see from Monday to Thursday, you put in some work after hours to figure out where it could take place. You're like, hey guys, like here's some ideas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was the big thing is I always tried to, the one thing as annoying as it is to like have to edit these notes, like it is, you're sitting and simmering with the ideas and the thought processes for hours longer than anyone else in that room. And that's, to me, was an opportunity, to do some brainstorming of my own and think of ideas and story solves that are based in the lore, the world, because we were adapting something and it's a very rich world and all this stuff. And it's like if you could solve a problem by pulling something that existed already, that rather than inventing something. Like everybody's happy, fans are happy, Sam and Travis are happy, like the rooms like it feels like a more satisfying solution than inventing something.
That's a really good point, and I feel like it's really great advice for writers' assistants out there that when you are doing the editing, really start to use that as a time to brainstorm, because the tough part about being a writer's assistant is I can say to you, "Kevin, please feel free to pitch," but you're so busy trying to, like, transcribe everything we're doing, it can be so hard to, like, activate your brain to pitch something as well. But if you are using that editing time to think about, "Oh, we ended the day with this story problem, how can I help that problem?" Or, "I'm seeing a story problem that they didn't see, maybe I should bring that up tomorrow." That feels like a really good use of your time as well, to just kind of come prepared the next day with some things that you noticed. I love that.
I do too. Kevin, you seem organized, just on top of your shit.
So organized.
It's funny. It's like in my professional life, yes, and then in my personal life, it all goes to shambles. I'm like,
Why does that always happen? Me too.
I just like, I'm like, I put so much, it takes a lot of effort to stay that organized. And so it's like, it's a full-time job, literally, to stay that organized. When I go home, the last thing I want to do is do a second full-time job. So, I'll figure it out. I know where shit is. I'll find it.
It's a balance, man. It's a balance.
Yeah.
What would you say is like the best thing about being a writer's assistant and the worst thing about being a writer's assistant?
The worst thing is editing the notes and taking
That
them.
bad, huh?
Yeah, it's not fun. It feels like it's like holding you back from your full potential almost. You're like, I have ideas, but I have to be typing. But again, like we just talked about, like you do learn a lot from it. So hate is a strong word. It's just more, it's very time consuming.
I'm afraid to even ask this, but has AI crept into this world at all, Tasha? Have you considered like just having an AI bot listen into everything and then transcribe into notes?
No, I've not, but I was in a room where it was with a particular company that is not afraid of using AI. And in that writer's room, I definitely demanded a writer's assistant for all the reasons we're talking about. But someone from the company was like, please feel free to throw your notes into AI and use that to summarize it rather than do all this work Kevin is talking about afterwards. But I think the concern is like AI can get it wrong, and then you go to reference it and you're like, this isn't what we said, or this is totally the wrong fact, actually. But if I don't remember that and I'm depending on this summary being the right thing, then I might just go off on a different track because I think that this is right. And it doesn't do what Kevin is talking about, which is like teach you what was talked about, really help you embody the story so that you can come strong the next day with some of your own pitches. Like it just eliminates a lot of the human stuff that's worthwhile.
Yeah, and like I said, the percolating with the notes was helpful in solving a lot of things we were running into in the room, and also like just knowing AI and like how it summarizes, like it is not the best summary, and also a huge part of my editing was our conversations were cyclical and would go to different places and then loop back, and a huge part of my editing process was grouping things that conversations that were 2 hours apart in real time. They're right next to each other in the notes because it's the same topic. So it makes it a lot easier to read and think about next steps rather than like going through the process of being in the room again and be like, yeah, we talked about this then, we talked about this then. It helps drive towards a solution.
Yeah. Get that shit out of here, Josh Hallman.
Hey, listen, I'm not an advocate for it. I just know some people who have been using it, is all I'm saying.
I mean, I when I heard about this like note editing thing and AI, I like the one thing I was like, oh, maybe was like taking the notes so that you
Yeah.
can focus, but I would never replace the editing, especially because you editing right then. So any mistakes AI made that day, you can be like, that's not what happened. And you can correct them and you can edit it and make it thing. And that allows the space, the brain space and freedom to actually be participating fully as a writer's assistant in the room. That is tempting.
But it transcribes everything, right? A note taker.
Yeah.
And there's so much stupid stuff that we talk about that I feel like you would have to edit even more just to get rid of the stupid stuff.
That's true. I hadn't thought about it that way. Yeah. So yeah, we don't need it. It was an exhausted post room. Kevin was like, someone else can take the notes.
Yeah. So if that's the worst part of your job, what was the best part of your job?
Pitching, like being in that room and like being part of the team, and it was my dream to work in film and TV, work on a show. And the story of Mighty Nine is amazing. It was exactly the type of story I wanted to tell. So being in the room, and Tasha's really good at it. Her rooms are all flat room style, where every, like she said earlier, like every best idea wins. It doesn't matter who, the janitor could come in and say something, and you're like, oh, that's a good idea. Let's use it. So that was, I've had the freedom, once I got over my fear of pitching in the room, uh, to pitch ideas, and a lot of them, as I was watching Mighty Nine, like ended up on screen, and it's like really, it helps everybody feel like co-authorship over this thing, rather than just like cogs in a machine helping someone else do something.
Can you remember one of your pitches that made it into the show?
Two early ones. I remember these. At some point, you sort of, it all melds together and you forget. But two early ones I remember because it was like first time I'm pitching something and people went, "Oh, that's cool." The 12-sided beacon explosion at the end of the pilot opening, and then the Devil Toad controlling Toya's mind with the spike.
Oh yeah, I remember we debated that because it's like that's so horrifying.
Yeah,
Kevin, you're
and that's why it's
sick.
great.
So,
Yeah, because in the campaign, Toya doesn't die or anything, and I was like, that was a discussion, like she doesn't die, but like she doesn't come back
mm,
either.
Yeah,
So this is a really great moment to bring these people together emotionally, is over the death of a child. As we know, Tasha loves killing children,
I
so
do. But you know that that's like the only feedback I feel the negative feedback we've gotten on season 1 is that you killed a child. I'm out.
really, oh
Yeah.
man,
So everyone, Kevin did it.
I did it. It was my fault.
well, you both acted surprised just now, like, oh, that's negative feedback, killing the child.
Yeah, it's an emotional moment. She was very adult-like.
At the time, Kevin didn't have a child, so I don't
It's
know if he
true.
would have pitched it
No,
now.
I mean, if there's anything that I stand by it.
That's my boy.
Tasha's been abusing these kids since like 2008 in scripts, not in real life. So from your perspective, Kevin, like sitting in, what are what are some of the best qualities of a writer in the room? Is there something you picked up or something you saw that you were like, oh, I'm gonna implement that into my own life, or like I really appreciate that about somebody? And on the opposite side, what are some of the worst qualities?
Good question. I feel like the best qualities are like understanding, like we're all in this together, we're all working hard, and like, leave your ego at the door sort of thing. That I think is why our room worked so well, is everybody sort of checked in and said yes to this mission and treated each other with respect. And also one thing, Zach Schwartz, who was in the room, he uh, was a writer's assistant. That was his route up. So he was really, really like kind to me, and talked to me a lot and gave me advice. And he knew like how much I was working. And so he knew like when he was asking me to do a little something extra for him, for help with something, he was always very kind and appreciative, and, would buy me a coffee or something. Like, he knew what he was asking. So he knew to make sure that he was showing his appreciation for what was happening. And I that's something I'll definitely take as I move forward into as staff writer or showrunner, hopefully one day. It's just treating everybody with respect.
Yeah, because it's easy, not easy, but I've seen it a lot where writers go the opposite direction, where they've maybe been through that process, and so they treat the assistant poorly because they're like, I was treated poorly, so now is my chance to treat someone else poorly. So yeah, you give someone power and you see who they truly are, kind of situation. But yeah, Zach was always so great. Where sometimes we'd give Kevin like, Kevin, would you mind researching that in your own time? And Zach would be like, Tasha, he has so much work to do.
Yeah,
Like, go
he
easy on
he was
him.
my defender
Yeah.
in the room. And like there was a couple that, like, to him, his credit and Tasha's credit, there was a couple times where like an emergency or something would come up, and I had to leave like mid room. Like a lot of rooms would be like, no, you have to stay, but like it was like situations like I gotta go now. And in both situations, Zach or Tasha just took over, just like, yeah, I got this, and would take the notes. Which, like, hearing horror stories Zach would tell from his past as writer's assistant, that's not the case in a lot of rooms. So I was very, very fortunate to have such supportive writers in the room.
So now talk about the bad. You don't have to be specific, obviously, but like, what are some qualities that you're like, oh, that's how I don't want to be in a writer's room, or that's not a helpful way to pitch or behave or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, most of the examples I have are not firsthand accountants. Thankfully,
Yeah.
it's a lot of it comes from horror stories Zach would tell. Just like being mean and manipulative and like pitting writers against each other. Like I thought one thing Tasha did was like before we started breaking episodes, we all knew what episodes we were writing. And that sort of, I guess in other rooms, there's like a history of people like fighting over like, oh, I know this one's the good episode, like all that stuff. And it sort of like eased that tension from the get-go. And so everybody was all in on every episode and just knew like, oh, this person's writing this episode that, that was sort of like the last step was like, oh, and then now this person takes the ideas we all put together and goes and writes the outline.
Way to go, Tasha.
Thanks.
Um, and then I think you kind of touched on this, but some of the biggest hurdles that you found.
Mhm. Definitely like managing upward is like a skill that you need to develop. And like, it's kind of scary to like go to your boss and be, or your boss's boss and be like, hey, I need this thing. It's like, it's got this like tenor of they owe you something, which is nerve wracking to request, but like figuring out the best ways and to ask for what you need essentially to get your job done. And at the end of the day, you're only asking so that you can do your job really well, so that they can do their job really well. So if they're worth their salt, they'll know that and they won't be mean about it. But yeah, that's definitely a skill I had to learn.
I would always yell at Kevin, jokingly, of course, if he would ask for a script because it was due. He'd be like, leave me alone, Kevin. Why are you so mean to me? I'm doing my best. It's okay, but you have only a couple hours before the deadline. I just want you to know. Just a
Oh, Jesus
reminder.
Christ.
Yeah, I mean, we had some close calls with deadlines.
Oh
So
my God.
uh,
Kevin, I was just thinking about this the other day, how we were all at a Dodger game, like celebrating the end of the writer's room. But Kevin had to leave the Dodger game
seventh
early
inning stretch.
to deliver our scripts by like 11:59 p.m. In order to just like get it done by a deadline.
Yeah, a deadline that suddenly came up that night,
Yeah.
like at the Dodger
Oh,
game. Yeah,
oh.
like if I had known the deadline before the Dodger game, it would have been done already.
Yeah.
But the deadline came in an email, and so I had to go home and like basically slap title pages on and do quick for it. We got it. It was due at 11:59, and I got it in at 11:51, I think, p.m. or something. It was, yeah, 8 minutes to spare.
I felt so bad.
It was like the World Series. Tasha's like, get out of here.
Yeah,
Send him.
Kevin, how many innings are you going to sit here for? Are
yeah.
you sure?
You got some stuff to do.
Hey, man, traffic's pretty bad.
Well, that was the upside. Is there was absolutely no traffic leaving Dodger Stadium if you leave in the seventh inning stretch.
And I guess favorite parts of the job? Which you kind of touched on, like the pitching and the camaraderie aspect, but maybe anything else.
I mean, just like meeting all these really talented writers and getting to know them, both a professional and a personal level. And I'm like Kira Presley, who was in our room and also on Tomb Raider. Like, I'm really good friends with her now. We're in development on a project now, and we're taking it out next month. Like, that would have never happened if we'd not been in this room together. So, like, just the networking is the dirty word of it, but
Yeah.
like, it's more like friendship developing, I suppose.
And did you like go out to, did you like take all the writers out to coffee or dinner, or like what kind of effort did you make outside of the room to get to know these writers more?
Yeah, I asked all of them out to coffee or drinks at some point, and most of them were kind enough to say yeah, or like if it couldn't work out, we'd go on a walk at lunch or something, and just would pick their brain if as you know, I know that's not everybody's favorite term, but like ask them questions about how they did it and what their story was, and also always asking for feedback, like what can I do better? Like, is there something I'm doing that's not good? Is there something I'm not thinking of? And everybody was really generous with their time and their discussion, and I'd offer to buy, and none of them would let me buy the coffee, so they,
Good.
which was nice of them. Yeah, and like I said, Kira, the generosity has just like continued. She's really been really helpful for my career. So, and something Zach said that always stuck with me is like, you never know where help's gonna come from. And then like Kira, my guardian angel, came and is like really been a boon to my writing
Yeah,
career.
I love that. She's the best.
Yeah.
I feel like we've talked about whenever we talk about writer's room that there is a kind of etiquette that's sort of unspoken when you are a writer in a writer's room, but we've not talked about what that etiquette might be for a showrunner's assistant or a writer's assistant. So, what kind of like etiquette or helpful tips might you give someone who's looking to be one of those roles?
Ask questions. Ask your boss, how do you want this done? And they will tell you. Everybody has an opinion, and if they don't care, just be prepared that when you then do it your way, they will suddenly care, and you'll have to adjust, and that's okay. At the end of the day, you are there to help them. And for pitching, that was one thing. Like I was very quiet the first few days. I was making sure I got all the notes, and just observing, seeing how people pitched, how ideas were taken, and everything. And a couple things that stuck out to me and that I took with me. One is it's not like, to use some sports metaphors. I know we love sports on this podcast. It's not like basketball where you got to hit 80% plus or something to be like a really good. It's more like baseball. Like if you're hitting 300 with your pitches, you're like the best batter in the in the leagues. It's everybody's just throwing shit out.
Yeah.
And to just try and shake the branch and shake something loose. And even if you pitch something that isn't right, it might spur something off in someone else's brain, and then it starts a conversation, it snowballs, and it becomes the answer, even though it had nothing to do with the original pitch. But also, if you feel really strongly about a pitch, you can pitch it once. If it's like sort of infused, reword it, pitch it again. Sometimes that works, but a lot of times it gets turned down again. It's not 3 strikes, 2 strikes, you're out. Don't pitch it again. Like it's just not working, man. Let it go.
Yeah.
So those are the two etiquette wise best things.
Do you have tips on how to let it go? Because I'm sure it feels like, but this would solve everything. You guys are morons.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things you just, seeing other people let it go. I mean, maybe they're fuming on the inside. You don't know what someone's going through, but they let it go and they're professionals. Like if you want to be a professional, it's just a skill you got to learn. It's like, uh, in baseball, going back to sports, like if you lose a game or you pitch a bad game, like the worst thing you can do is dwell on it and come back and do it again. You know what I mean? You got to learn to shed it. And I wish I had like tangible, like this is how you learn to shed it. And the truth is, you just compartmentalize in your brain and forget it.
You brought up a really good point that we talk about this often is just like the idea of just asking. Because I think a lot of times, even in all aspects of the entertainment industry, people are just afraid to ask because they don't
Yeah.
want to seem like they're stupid or they should already know something or whatever. But then you just ask and someone tells you and you're like, oh, thank God. And no one cared. And you
Yeah.
just have to ask these
There was not a single time that Kevin asked a question where it was like, God, this guy. It was like, oh, it's this.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Let me find out.
Yeah, that was like a skill I had to learn. Speaking of things to learn, was to ask. It was very much not in my nature to ask for help, like you said. And in my career pre Tomb Raider, a couple jobs I had where I was especially nervous to ask my boss things because they were very not against it. Those are the jobs I did the worst at. If I can't ask the solution to a problem, then I can't solve the problem. And
Yeah.
so willingness to ask, and hopefully your boss reciprocates that with a willingness to answer, and that is, I think, the healthiest boss employee relationship you can have.
It's so dumb. The power dynamic of bosses who don't answer questions is just bizarre to me.
Yeah, yeah. I don't get it. Like, don't you want a good job to happen?
Yeah. As someone who has been an assistant, like I know how much like when I was an assistant, my whole life was to make my boss's life easier. That's all that I cared about because I just that's the job. And to like be met with aggression was so bizarre and like so sad because I'm like, I just want to help you. Please let me help you.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. So you went on to co-write the first episode of season 2 with
Hmm.
me, which was
Hmm.
such a banger episode. A lot of your pitches made it into that because
Yeah.
you just wrote it. And like, I remember us being like, that's insane, Kevin. We can't do that. Let's just
Yeah.
write it and let them tell us no. And they never told us no. They just ended up doing it.
Yeah. And it is based in, there are core nuggets from the campaign
For
within it.
sure. For
We can't
sure.
talk in detail at the moment,
No.
obviously. It hasn't aired, but
But
yeah.
what advice can you give to writers' assistants who want to get to that point where they are writing or co-writing episodes?
It's sort of an amalgamation of everything we've been talking about today. Be a willingness to learn and pitch, and not be afraid to pitch. And if you demonstrate in the room that you can pitch and you understand the etiquette of pitching, and also like you have story chops. You understand how to do this, and then paired with what Josh just highlighted, asking. I asked. We were most of the way through season 1, and it was the end of the day. Writers had gone home. Tasha was doing her usual thing of working extra hours, and I said, "Hey, when you're done with that task, I have something I want to talk to you about."
And my heart dropped, and I was like,
Right.
"Oh God, what is
It's
this
always nerve
about?
wracking.
Oh my
Yeah,
God!"
yeah. And I just said, yeah, I kind of laid out that I feel like I've learned what I can as an assistant, and I feel the next step is writing and tackling a script. And Tasha was very kind and listened and nodded, and then smiled and said, Sam and Travis had already talked about it, and I was going to co-write an episode in season 2, and there you go.
Well, this is actually a perfect transition into my last, final, most important question for you. What are some of the best things about working with her and the worst?
Tasha, you want good
No.
news or bad news first?
Bad news. Bad news. End on a high.
Yeah.
Tell us all the
Uh,
parts.
yeah. Uh, worst part. Uh, her coffee taste. No. We
I'll take
we
feedback as the showrunner. No one ever gives it to me. I'll take it.
Now, Kevin can say nothing wrong right now.
coffee. I was saying it jokingly, but we would get coffee sometimes, and it would always be from a nice little fun, local cafe. But Tasha really likes Starbucks, so eventually the coffee orders were just Starbucks, and made me. It's free coffee, so you can't complain. But
Yeah.
I don't think I would be like that now, Kevin. I've grown as a person.
you've grown as a
Yeah.
coffee person.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I look forward to whenever the next time we work together is.
Me too.
Trying specialty coffee.
Then I'll be like, this isn't great. Let's do Starbucks next time.
See, this is a great lesson to prospective showrunners of learning, growing in your
Growing.
coffee taste.
In fairness, Tasha, you're not the only one. I know you've moved on, but I know a lot of people who are very stubborn, specifically to Starbucks. I know some people who only drink McDonald's coffee. I know some will only go to one coffee shop. Like once you find it and it gets you in your workflow,
Yeah.
there's no, you just, that's your coffee.
You do like want and need everything that will just put you in your flow. So
Yeah.
anything that disrupts like bad coffee, I guess.
Yeah.
Lunch orders also extremely important.
Yes.
Like if you send me one that's wrong, I'm like, ugh, this ruins my day.
Yeah, I'd actually forgotten about lunch orders. That is the worst part of being an assistant, is lunch orders. No question.
Because also like no one gives you the lunch orders on time, but then they're mad if lunch isn't on time when they're the ones who made it not on time.
The Sisyphean task of lunch orders can be summed up in the first day I was a PA on a set and had to do lunch orders. Is I had somebody come up to me and say, I have to have a vegan meal, make it happen.
Oh God.
And then another guy came up to me and said, I have to have like a big juicy burger. It has to
Oh
And you just
gosh.
like, you have to satisfy both those people every single day, and you can't. So,
Yeah.
uh, you just sort of try and balance and do some vegan options one day, some juicy meat some other days, and hope no one gets really outwardly mad at you.
I've got nothing else.
Wait, he's not talked about the best part yet.
I made it up in my head. I was like, it's like
Yeah,
I think I know what the best part is.
What do you
yeah,
think it is?
I think that something you're very good at is nurturing a collaborative experience and making new writers feel as though they are and have been part of the fabric of something the entire time.
That's beautifully said.
beautifully said.
I hope that's true.
Yeah. So, Kevin, did I just answer for you or?
You did. That was a much more eloquent way of what I was going to say. So yeah, it's just like everything we've been talking about today, like everything you said, and the flat room really helped that. And she kind of first day one gave like a, here's the expectations for the room. It's a safe space. Don't worry, you're all right. You can pitch bad ideas. It's okay. Um, and that sort of like set the tone, and the tone, tone starts at the top, and Tasha is a good tone setter.
People always laugh when I say it's a safe space, just like Josh Hallman did. But you have to say it. You have to make it clear. And you hope that people, embrace that idea, because it's really up to them to. I could say it's a safe space all I want, but if someone starts gossiping about the trauma that someone is talking about of their own lives outside, there's nothing that I can do except have difficult conversations. But so far, knock on wood, everyone has accepted it, even though they've laughed at me every time I say it's a safe space. I think that just makes them uncomfortable because they're not used to hearing it. That's what I think, Kevin.
Yeah, yeah, you might be right.
It's okay, Josh. It's a safe space here.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got.
Did we do it? Kevin, is there anything else about being a writer's assistant / show writer's assistant you're burning to talk about?
I do have one more piece of advice that I tell everybody, and it did not naturally come up, but the number one best thing you can do is utilize email. Email is the best invention for a writer's assistant. Everything you ever talk about, discuss, always try and communicate with your writers and your showrunner through email, and spell it out, what it's about correctly, because everything, that organization is finding shit in your email is 90% of that. And if you spelled something wrong, or you didn't put a subject line that triggers memories, you can't find that stuff. So the most practical thing of advice I could say is utilize the robust search system of your email, and set yourself up for success by instead of saying like shorthand slang, trying to like just casual talking like you're on Slack or something, write it out. And that everything you ever need to find years down the line, sometimes you have to find something, you can find it because you spelled it correctly.
That explains the tone of your emails.
Yes.
I get it now.
It's an intentional, helpful. It is the most important thing that helps me stay organized.
Yeah. Interesting. That's a good tip. Well, thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
This was
You're welcome.
lovely.
Yeah.
And not because you talked about how great it was to be in my writer's room, but that helped.
Yeah.
This was great. I know that it will help a lot of people sort of maybe take the fear out of what this job is, and hopefully inspire people that this is a direction to go in. Kevin's brilliant. I love working with him. I can't wait to work with him again. And it's for all the reasons he's talking about. And you're always someone I like, am trying to always try to push other, like talk to Kevin. You need a writer's assistant, Kevin. Like you are someone that I think of for all of those things because of all the stuff that you're talking about. Whereas, a writer's assistant who may go unnoticed, and I've certainly met some of them who I'm sure are perfectly nice, but they never asked me to coffee when I was in a writer's room, so I never got to know them. They never spoke in a writer's room, so I never understood how they thought. Were they good thinkers? Did they understand the story? I just never understood, but they were great at taking notes, and that was kind of all that they did, or all that I saw, really, right? So if you can kind of put the extra effort in to do these other things and get seen in these really great ways, it helps someone like me understand, like, oh, this is someone that I can, that we can bring with us, and that can really do the job in an exceptional way. So yes, all the things, Kevin, you're amazing.
Thank you.
I agree.
I'm gonna wrap up with the quote of the day. A professional writer is an amateur who didn't quit. Richard Bach. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha, at Story Thursday on Instagram.
And I'm Josh Hallman on Instagram. And Kevin, can we find you on social media?
Social media, I'll be 10 years clean in January.
Oh, that's
But
right. That's right. I
but
knew that.
speaking of email, you can email me. I'm kevin.shable, S-H-A-B as in boy, E-L, @gmail.com. Reach out if you want to grab coffee or talk movies, whatever. I love meeting new people and talking about this crazy industry and how fun it is.
I love that. As always, the Act Two podcast is a production of Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode was edited by Paul Lundquist.